Okay, we're live, getting ready to chat with author P.H. Solomon and ask him a few questions about why he's getting ready to get very busy. P.H., you want to tell everybody hi?
Hi, Sean. Hello to everybody listening. Hope everyone's having a good evening.
Well, I know I, for one, am curious. Is the PH really your initials, or is that a play on science or chemistry, or what's going on with that?
No, you can call me Pete.
Okay, you just use the PH for your author name.
Yeah, it kind of shortens it up a little bit.
Okay. Well, Pete, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know you've got work and family and writing and all kinds of things going on. So tell us, what kind of projects do you have in the works right now?
Well, the big one is we're about to release a fantasy book, The Bow of Destiny, and that's just going to be on ebook. So that comes out on September 28th.
Okay, great. I've got some links that we can post in here toward the end. So what made you want to take up the crazy occupation of writing?
Well, really, I think for the love of story. I can remember, being a child and having my mom read to me and just, loving a story. And then, I got a little older, kind of got picked up Tolkien, and he and I really kind of got to be companions there for a number of years. Still read Tolkien every now and then, but from there I just kind of branched out to a lot of other fantasy over the years. And when I got out of high school, I was just thinking about writing a story, similar to what I'd been reading. So, there was just a desire that kind of moved into telling the story as opposed to just reading.
Yeah, I think Tolkien has influenced a lot of authors, and since you obviously like reading like the fantasy type things, do you have some other authors that you really kind of clicked with or really enjoy reading?
But yeah, I think someone that kind of rivals Tolkien would be Robert Jordan, who wrote the Wheel of Time series, which turned out to be just a lot of books, but really good world building. And then much earlier than that, I really enjoyed the Earthsea trilogy by Ursula K. Le Guin. It was just a fantastic series, and Patricia McKillip wrote the Riddle Master of Head series, which was really, really good. Anne McCaffrey wrote the Dragon Riders of Pern series. Just a lot of different books back from the late 70s, early 80s. Terry Brooks, those kind of guys really did a lot of the plowing.
That's a really great list there. There's I think I've read every author you've mentioned so far, and probably most everything that they have written. Those are all great books. I mean, I'm like you. I love a good story. I can sit and listen to somebody reading, if it's a good story. To me, that's, I like audiobooks, partially because now, I don't have as much time to read as I would like. And I've got a stack of books on my iPad, figuratively speaking, to catch up on. So what are you reading right now?
Well, I'm getting ready to read a couple of indie authors. I'm going to read one by C.S. Boyack. I think it's called The Experimental Notebook of C.S. Boyack. It's an anthology. So I'm in a kind of a reading club. So I'll have to read and review that as part of being in the club. And then I've got a couple of other friends that are indie authors that I'm going to read theirs soon. One of them is Thy Kingdom Come by Daniel Adorno. And that's a YA dystopian science fiction.
Uh-huh.
And another one is Emery Squara. It's of Song and Singularity, and that's another science fiction. I've got a long list like you do.
Yeah, yeah. If we did nothing but read our list to each other, we'd probably be here for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something in there about one of them being a YA young adult novel. Who is your target audience for the book that you're writing, The Bow of Destiny?
Well, really, it's geared towards those traditional epic fantasy readers, and knowing how fantasy has changed somewhat. Maybe even more towards some people who are not quite into the really gritty stuff, like what Martin's done recently with quote unquote the Game of Thrones. So maybe a little bit back from being that gritty, and a little bit more of those classical stories type level stuff.
Okay, so it's The Bow of Destiny. I don't know if this is kind of like asking you if you have a favorite child, but do you have a favorite character that really that you just kind of I guess struck a nerve with, that you go, hey, wow, this is my favorite. I love writing about this character.
Yeah, other than the main character whose name is Athson, probably my favorite character is a young woman named Limbrith, who almost really becomes a co-main character, and somehow she's really seemed to end up with some of the bigger scenes at times, where she gets almost bigger than life, but that kind of plays into the whole storyline a little bit, where how she ends up interacting with some of the other characters, mainly dwarves.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the personality of those two without giving any spoilers away? We wouldn't want you to,
Yeah, Athson is
readers to read it and not spoil it for them.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but he's a little bit of a troubled young guy, who is a ranger. He's been living with the elves for around 10 years when the story starts. And he's had some troubled times in his past, and so you're not quite sure when you start with him what's going on with him, but something's not quite right. And so a little bit later on, he runs into Limbrith, and she's a little bit of a spitfire, and she's kind of gone against some wishes in her family to become a sword fighter. She's a bit of a duelist, but she's not really that experienced as a dueler. She's done a lot of training, and she's good with some cavalry. So you can tell she's been raised in a wealthy family, and she's kind of out trying to earn her own name or some renown with adventure. So she's got some definite ideas about adventure and what she thinks she's going to get out of it.
Okay, so when you're writing, when you sit down to work on a new story or whatever, do you work from a kind of a plot or an outline, or one of the terms I've heard some other authors use is they call themselves pantsers. They kind of fly by the seat of their pants. Or I mean, are you kind of lean that way, or do you typically kind of have a plan when you go into a book?
No, I like to have a plan, but I've found that old style of outlining that you and I certainly learned about, writing a term paper or something like that really doesn't work for fiction. And I know a number of people who don't use that sort of outlining. So I pretty much use something where it's just a point to point type thing, where it's just phrases typed in, and that's where I can build a scene off of at each point. And it allows you to be fluid and reorganize, change things around, add a few things. And that way, if you do find yourself needing to go in different directions, it's really not set in stone. So you can move around and change directions fairly easily. It can be nimble.
Okay, well that's great. So also when you're sitting down to write, what kind of tools do you use? Are you a pen and paper guy, typewriter, computer?
Years ago, when I was really kind of starting as just out of high school, obviously it was, pen and paper and that sort of thing, and then it moved more into digital. But over the years, I've gotten to where it's just all on computer, because it's just so much easier to not worry about transferring what you're writing from paper to computer, which can just be time consuming. It's almost like you're writing it twice instead of writing it once and then doing your editing. And the editing is way easier on a computer.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I was one of those kids in school that somebody might take 5 pages of notes in a class, and I might write 3 words. I was never much of a note taker, and I'm sure there are high school teachers out there that would probably keel over if they actually knew I was writing a book. But so let me ask you, when you're on the computer, what are your favorite tools for composing or editing or organizing your work?
Over the last year, I've really gotten into using Scrivener. It's just incredibly powerful organizational and writing tool for almost any kind of writing. It doesn't have to be fiction. It can be for anything. So I use it for almost everything that I do for writing at this point.
So how many hours a week do you think you spend writing?
Well, that widely varies, since I'm not full time, and so time availability can change. But I might write as few as a few hours a week, or I might get up towards spending 20 hours doing a variety of writing activities.
Okay. Well, I tell you, it fascinates me with the tools. I'm also a Scrivener user, and I know you've written some really helpful blog articles on some of the I guess more arcane aspects of Scrivener, because it's like a Swiss Army knife. It's sometimes it's hard to know, well, which tool is it that I need to use here, and everything. But yeah, I agree with you. That is a wonderful tool. So let me ask you. I know you've got excuse me, you've got the book release coming up. What kind of things you have planned to get the word out so everybody knows that, hey, I've got this great new book out here?
Well, we got a number of blog posts coming up in the main. We'll have one Monday, and most of these are on my website. So when you pop that up, people can go to that and see that on the news page, where I've got a schedule updated there. But we'll start with one next week, and then the week after, on the 28th, will be the release day. We'll have a big post there that's actually part of the Rave Reviews book club, having a big blog party all month long. So everybody's hosting a different day on their blog. And so mine is the 28th on release day. And so there'll be prizes there, and the group will choose who the winners are based on the list of commenters. So if anyone wants to get in on prizes, you can just go on the website on the 28th and read through and make a comment, and you'll be entered in.
So what's the website address?
It's just phsolomon.com.
So PHSOLMON? SOLOMON.
Yeah.
Yeah. So phsolomon.com. Stop
Right.
by there and make sure you're there for the launch day event on the 28th. And let me see. Hang on just a second. My screen hopped over here on me, and I've got to. We'll just edit this part out. I think I covered all the highlights. Okay, there are a couple other things. So one of the questions that I do like to ask authors when I interview them is, what do you like to do to relax?
Well, yeah, being from Alabama, you can imagine what I like. Football.
I was just going to say it's Roll Tide, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Football season is good to have around. You can kind of take a break from things and just kind of watch the drama somewhere else. And I like to get out and run, or I try to, especially as the season changes and gets a little bit cooler, I like to get out on some half days that I work and go take some walks, or go see some different things. So it really, taking breaks are great for your creativity.
Oh yeah, you can't just go all the time. I mean, you have to relax. And I've never been a runner. My oldest boy ran cross country. I don't know where he got that from, but I don't run. I tell people, I said I don't run. That's why I study Kempo. So I'm a Kempo karate guy. That's one of the things I like to do it's fun for me, and it's relaxing. And not only that, it's a great workout. But I tell you, one of the funniest answers I ever got to that question when I asked somebody was when I asked Scott Pratt. He writes kind of a like lawyer whodunit kind of things, and he said he liked to drink vodka and juggle chainsaws.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, well, he did say he's always been a little bit of a smart ass, but I went to high school with him, so he was several years ahead of me, but he's a real character. So let me ask you another question. We talked about some authors earlier. What would you say is your favorite book and why?
My favorite book would have to be probably The Return of the King, just because it's the coup de grace of everything that happens in Lord of the Rings. It's the finisher, and it brings everything back together, and it resolves everything, and you get to see everything that happens to Frodo and everybody else in the book.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love, I hate when people ask me that question because I have a really hard time answering it. I would say mine's probably the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov, and I don't pick any one of the three out of the trilogy because you really have to read all of them. It's kind of like Tolkien. You need to read all of them, but picking one for me would be tough. I'm not sure I could just say, yeah, that's my favorite. But so let me ask you this: where do you see yourself with your writing in 5 years?
Well, if it goes well, I would love to be what's called a hybrid writer, which is someone who is independently published and traditionally published. I think that's a good model because if the traditional publisher is passing on something that is a pretty good piece of work, you don't want to let it just sit around. You can actually publish it yourself. By the same token, there are so many rights that through at least an agent, if not traditional publishing, are much easier to get out than doing it yourself. And I think really, an ebook is good to get out into the distribution stream. It's pretty easy to do with Smashwords and Kindle and all that. But really a hard copy book is a traditional publisher just has a better distribution stream than an independent normally has, unless you get just huge word out over the internet or whatever through reviews and such. So that's kind of the model that I think of, and hope to move towards. And actually, someone on Goodreads asked me if they could do a graphic novel of the book, and last week. So I'm kind of like, well, I never thought of that. So I have to
there's
take
always
that into consideration.
Yeah, you've got that, and don't forget the audiobook version.
Yeah, right. That's another one. Yeah, audio I think is a little bit easier to do, although I think I might like to have somebody actually read it other than me, because I just don't think I would sound good enough doing it.
Well, I've got so I've got some thoughts on that. There's a lot of good people out there that can do recordings. One of the things I've read from several different people is that you want to have somebody that actually has like a studio that can do professional recording, because they said you'd be amazed at how much difference that makes. And
Certainly.
Yeah, that'd be one of those things that's like, yeah, if you got a little extra money to throw at it, is it's kind of like your editing. You don't want to skimp on a decent editor, but at the same time, you don't want to throw away all the potential profit too.
Yeah, certainly not. And I was fortunate enough to find a good editor, former one from Random House, and so she's been really good. So yeah, doing it the right way when you do it is key, and that's why I think being a bit of a hybrid author really gets you there, and you still have some freedom to do what you want, and then hopefully add a few ancillary type markets to it.
Okay, well, great. I know you sent me a lot of good information with your media kit, and I'll make sure we get some links for all your social media, because I know you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook. Where else do you have a presence?
Oh, Goodreads, Pinterest. I'm trying to remember myself.
Well, hang on. Let me. I think I have it pulled up over here. Let me just cycle through and pull up the list. Oh no, I think I closed that one.
Yeah, it's well, obviously Google Plus and Wattpad and
okay, so yeah, I'll take the list and we'll put it together. And is there anything you want to say in closing about your upcoming book launch?
Yeah, sure. As we went over before, it's epic fantasy that really begins with Athson, who's really in some unusual straits, and he gets drawn into a quest that goes in against really some enemies that he's had in the past. He's carrying some secrets around, and as part of that, he finds out that he's got to find a special bow that's supposed to be the weapon against this particular dragon who wants to rule everything. Well, that sounds a lot like a lot of fantasy books that you may have read in the past. Certainly has a lot of the same types of things to it, but I approach them a lot differently, turn a lot of those elements uncommonly in different directions. So hopefully the adventure is somewhat unique for readers and enjoyable. And so I'll invite everybody right now to go ahead and join the hunt for the Bow of Destiny on September 28th.
All right. Well, PH, again, thank you so much for your time. I know we